You, Tommy, because when you left the EDL,
Yeah.
a lot of us, including me and Lars Hedegaard, my colleague,
Yeah.
we were so surprised when you held a press conference together with the Quilliam Foundation. We thought that the Muslims finally had you down by your neck. Can you tell us what happened?
It wasn't the Muslims, it was the state. So you've read, obviously. Look, I was at that situation I was in, and I made that decision within 2 days. My mum, we thought at that time, dying. She didn't have long to live. The police had held me under a financial restraint for 4 years, which meant they'd bled me out of every penny I had. I wasn't allowed a bank account. They had all my assets frozen. They'd closed both my businesses down. Mm-hmm. I had nowhere to turn. Yeah. When I went to jail in 2012 for illegally entering the United States.
Yeah.
So when I know it's a stupid idea, but still we do them, and I don't actually regret it, to be honest. But when I went there, I was sentenced to 10 months custody in the UK, and I'd done 22 weeks on solitary confinement. Now, during that time, when I was in custody, the English Defence League donated £1,800 over those 5 months, which I'm grateful to everyone who did donate. Mm. But my outgoings are thousands each month. Yeah, because before the English Defence League, I had a successful business, 7 properties. I lived a good lifestyle. I earned in excess of £200,000 probably coming in. My business was over the year. So I was used to a lifestyle. I had my bills, everything I was used to. And then overnight, they crushed it. Yeah. Now, so I'm there faced again. So when I was in custody, if it wasn't for Pamela Geller, who helped my family with their bills, my family would have been homeless. Now, I know that what the police have been doing and everything they've been trying to do, they would succeed. Because if my family become homeless when I'm in jail, my family have to go to the state and they have to ask for housing. And when they do that, I know they're going to get put in a Muslim community. I know how it's all working. So when I'm viewing all this, it's like a game of chess. And I'm sitting there and I'm in court in 3 weeks. I'm looking at 3 to 5 years for an offence I haven't done, because I know full well I know what they're going to do. I knew they're going to use my wife against me. They're going to use her security because they set a date that she had to stand trial. I knew exactly what was going on. So in those weeks before it, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, if I get 3 years, I can't rely on the English Defence League. I know I can't to help my family. I know that when I went to jail, and that's not me, I know no one was there for my wife and kids. I know that. So when that sobering reality is there, I'm thinking, for the first time, I'm going to be in prison while my mum dies. Yeah, and it's all because of my beliefs, all because of what's happened. And then I've got my wife terrified. So I'm in court in 2-3 weeks, and then I met with Quilliam. Yeah, and to be honest, it was I use you use me, and the deal that I had with Quilliam was that no matter how long I get in prison, they will cover every one of my wife's bills. Yeah? So I knew if I don't do this, the state wins. Because how can I fight when I don't have a secure or stable family? I can't. So, and I also knew that I'm going to prison. I knew that. Yeah. So, and I also knew that however long I go to prison for, when I get out, I know what they're going to do. They're going to give me conditions not to contact the EDL. So I'm going to be leaving the English Defence League anyway. So I'm thinking, I'm going to jail in 3 weeks. I'm not going to be leaving the EDL. Well, I'm getting some security and stability. And to be honest, for the first time in 5 years, I put my wife and kids first. Because I hadn't done for 5 years. Yeah. So when I was faced with all that, a lot of people just watched it and thought, "Oh, you traitor." I thought, well, I wouldn't be having to be a traitor if I knew I could rely on people to sort my wife out. But I know from my previous experience that I simply can't. So at that time, I did strike a deal. Some would say I did strike a deal. And also, when I met some of those lads in Quilliam, I thought, look, I'm going to listen to what they've got to say. Yeah. But again, you've read what I've got to say.
I did.
There's not an answer there. What they say behind 4 walls is very different to what they say in public. It's all part of an experience, and it's part of being able to continue now to be able to fight the battle, which I wouldn't have been able to. I simply wouldn't have. And the police are fully aware that the biggest fear I have is my family. They have to have security. The other thing is, I have never claimed a benefit. Yeah, I can't. So some people usually, if the father went to prison, the family can go and get benefits, and then they can pay their rent, they can pay their food, they can get. I can't do that because the minute my family are on a system, I can be found. I can be found. So I have to pay everything. I have to live in a secret address. So all of these things were all playing a big part, as well as the fact with my mum. Part of leaving with Quilliam got me a letter from the Archbishop of Canterbury to the judge to say go lenient on him because he's doing some positive work. It's amazing what happens as soon as you talk to Muslims. So I had all of this at that moment. So when I left, it's like I didn't lie. When I sat with those Muslims, I generally don't hate Muslims. I sit with Muslims all the time. That's what people don't get. It was nothing new for me to be sitting next to a Muslim who's okay, because I sit next to if I go out at a weekend and there's 10 of my friends, one of them or two of them will be Muslims that I've grown up with. I don't agree with their ideology, and that, to be honest, they don't practice their religion, but they're from a Muslim family. So a lot of the things I was saying, it's like, look, I don't hate Muslims, and we have to look for an answer in this, but it's part of a journey that I can come out at the other end and evaluate what's going on, and groups like Quilliam, whether they can have an effect, whether they will work. And that's my opinion on it.
Do you remember, Tommy, that Lars and I was over in London and made an interview with you just after you had these the press conference with Quilliam, and I asked you, could it be like this, that maybe you use the I scratch your back and you scratch mine? And you sort of looked at me and you smiled. You never said anything, but I knew exactly what was going on.
All I said to people is, judge me on the last 5 years, not on 24 hours.
Yeah.
Judge me on and surely you know. But and the point is, and what happened? What happened was I was supposed to be going to prison in 3 weeks. Yeah. But when I went to court, the judge adjourned it for another 7 weeks till after Christmas, which I was happy because I got to spend Christmas with my children. But then it was even a longer time. And to be honest, the relationship I had, like from the minute I've come out of custody, I haven't spoke to Quilliam. I spoke to them once. It wasn't. Look, and I was offered a job, and I was offered I was given many lucrative offers from left wing as soon as I left. But that's not my beliefs. I did what I had to do at that moment in time to protect my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't have to do it like that. But that at the same time, I was leaving the English to forget Quilliam. I was leaving the English Defence League anyway, which you've read, Ingrid. I'd made my decision to leave. I'd already made that decision. But when this come about, I thought, do you know what? I'm leaving anyway. I'm going to get some support from my phone.
And I totally get that. I know you told me all about these racist gangs trying to, conquer the EDL and